Like fantasy?
Film.
Bye! What'd you fucking say?
Fantasy.
Film fight!
I still don't get it.
Fantasy.
Fight!
We take the pick of the litter.
We take it in turns. Someone's just gotta go first. And then?
The next person.
They just go round and round.
That's what
We call it
fantasy.
fight. You win some, you lose some.
Anything can happen.
So?
Who are you going with?
Who you picking? Today.
Fantasy.
Film.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode number 82 of Fantasy Film Fights, the show where we take a random film topic and we draft it fantasy style. Today on the show, in honor of the upcoming live event for the Movie Trivia Schmodown in Brooklyn, we are drafting movies that are set in New York City, and yes, the boroughs do count in this one. And it's going to be a fun show. I'm excited. With me, as always, right over here, my co-host, Mr. Tony Hill. Tony, how you doing?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you very much for asking. I'm not sad at all that everyone's going over to New York and I'm stuck in England. It's fine. It's whatever. I'll sit here with my book.
Well, we wish you could. Pandemic restraints prevent such occurrences. It's all right. You know, you'll catch the next one in 2023.
Also money.
No, I would. I've got kidneys to sell. It's fine. They're only half damaged.
But we have a fantastic crew joining us, all returning panelists on the show. There's somebody with a little bit of a feedback, but that's okay. I'm persevering. I am powering through. Let me introduce him over here. We've got Kaiser returning. Kaiser, how you doing?
Well, I've never been to New York City, so this will be interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something I did not mention, that we've got the 4 people drafting. I'm abstaining from this one. 2 who've lived in New York and 2 who don't even live in the United States. So yeah, it will be an interesting one. But let me introduce you to one of the 2 living in New York City currently, correct? Yes?
No, I'm in Jersey. You talking about me?
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. I thought you. My bad. But anyways, Antonio, glad to have you back. How you doing?
It's been so long since I've been on here. I figured I had to come and just rep New York because I may be in Jersey, but I was born and raised in New York.
Yeah.
I even asked for help from 2 of my brothers who were also born and raised in New York. They're still living there. So yeah, I'm excited for this one. And excited for the weekend too.
Yeah. It's gonna be a fun one. And then last, certainly not least, we've got Jake Meltzer returning, the other one who used to live in NYC. Jake, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Lived in Brooklyn for almost 6 years, so this is a passion, a topic I'm very passionate about. A lot of my favorite movies are set in New York City, so this is going to be a really fun show, and I just hope that my brain doesn't explode from Kaiser's nuclear takes.
Well, remains.
Yay, that's almost worse than me.
I don't know about that one, but
We'll see.
remains to be seen. Remains to be
Jake's
seen.
strong. Jake's
But
strong.
let's get this show on the road. In order to do that, we got to figure out draft order. Tony, how do we do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got a numerical question here. We're all going to take a shot at whoever gets closest gets split draft order, who gets to go first, who gets stuck in the middle, and who takes it in the rear.
All right, everyone's got their whiteboards handy. So your question is, back in 2020, we had the U.S. Census that took place. According to that census, according to my Google search, the population of New York City is 8,804,190 people. But my question to you is, what's the population of Chicago?
Had to be Chicago.
According to the 2020 census. Tony went quickly to his board as if he thought that this might be the question that was posed. You were very confident.
You think I remember numbers?
No, I was just thinking maybe you looked it up or something beforehand, but I figured the population of New York City would be way too obvious. So I went a little oppo. I went with my city of Chicago. Everyone's got a number written down? Yes. All right.
Yeah.
We will start with Kaiser. What'd you write?
I wrote 3142567.
3.14. We'll just round it to that. All right, Antonio.
This is about 5 million.
5 mil. Jake?
I went 5,278,463.
5.278. And then Tony?
I went 2.4 million.
All right. Well, Lottie overshot, but Tony undershot. It is 2,746,388 that live in Chicago, according to that census. So, Tony, it falls to you to set
Yes, the
today's draft
city
order.
itself.
Hey,
Yes,
all
we're
right.
officially 1/3 the size of New York City.
I've so many jokes all the time. All right. I think what I'll do is, all right. Anyway, I'll do foreigners first because fuck it. So it'll be Kaiser, me, then we'll do furthest away from New York, Jake, then Antonio.
All right, that works. Kaiser, Tony, Jake, and then Antonio has the other turn. All right, sweet. So might as well roll out the red carpet for the one who's furthest away from New York City at the moment. Kaiser, you are officially on the clock. What is the number one movie in your mind that is set in New York City?
So I'm gonna go with a movie that introduced me to a New York City. So when I first think of a New York City, what I first think about is superheroes. Is about pizza delivery and Spider-Man 2.
We're going 2. All right.
Yeah. So yeah, I think Spider-Man 2 released when I was 5 years old. So yeah, I'm clearly the youngest guy here.
You said
Okay.
5 years old.
Yes. Yeah, I was alive for 6 months in 1999.
Oh God.
Wow, I feel old now.
All right.
I have things at arm's reach that are older than you.
As do I.
So yeah, this movie was a massive upgrade on the original. The original was, it's kind of it doesn't really hold up. And the original doesn't speak to me the way Spider-Man 2 does, because Spider-Man 2 it's not just a superhero movie. When it comes to depicting New York, I always think about Spider-Man delivering pizza, Doc Ock holding Aunt May hostage on top of a bank building or something. And yeah, it's whenever I think of a New York City, Spider-Man 2 was the one that gave me the first impression of the city in a general. So that's why I had to go with it as my number one. Yeah.
No, it makes sense. It's an emotional, like it's got that sentimentality to it for you.
Yeah.
Did anyone here have Spider-Man 2 on their Hey, Jake had it.
I actually had it pretty high, but I crossed it off before Kaiser started speaking because I knew he would take it. This is my favorite. I think this might be my favorite live-action superhero movie of all time.
Really?
I think this is a masterpiece of the superhero genre, and why I love this movie the most of all the Spider-Man movies, and what actively annoys me about the MCU Spider-Man movies. This movie is New York to its core, like. Very much like Kaiser, as somebody who lived there, who's somebody who visited there all the time as a kid. When I think of Spider-Man, I think of New York, and this movie in particular embodies the spirit of New York, I think, better than most movies. The entire subway chase and particularly the aftermath of the subway chase, when he's worn out and he's brought back into the car, to me, that is New York. That scene when the kids give him his mask back and they're like, I promise we won't tell. Like, just that sense of civic pride that runs through, especially the first 2 Raimi Spider-Man movies, which is why I think the first one actually does hold up pretty well. But this one is obviously better. And I think this is a great pick. I would have picked it relatively soon.
Fair enough. Tony, you said you had this high on your list too?
Yeah, I have 1 or 2 Spider-Man films on this. I wouldn't say this is my favorite live-action Spider-Man. I have a lot of love for the Tom Holland ones, but I think this one is the best one that encapsulates New York. It's just like, it does feel so much more like a New York film than all the rest of them. And I think that also is like, Alfred Molina is one of the finest actors there is. I adore him in everything that he does, and he's the best movie comic book villain there is. His Dr. Octopus is just like, yes, please, I need more of you, and thank Christ we're getting more of him.
Yeah.
And Green Goblin too.
Everyone going nuts over that
Steve
trailer.
Oh, yeah.
But all right, anybody else want to throw in their 2 cents on Spider-Man 2?
I didn't have. I was actually discussing this like half an hour ago with my brother, and we were saying the whole thing where like it's set in New York, but I don't really consider it like a really quintessential New Yorker movie. And like, yeah, the only part I guess would be the people, but otherwise they don't really show that much stuff as far as New York, like any locations. And also, I think I could be totally wrong. I could have swore like that even as a when I got older after seeing it, I thought it was amazing, right? But then as I got older, I was like, wait, there's no elevated trains in Manhattan that are like that. So that whole action scene is great, but the logic behind it being in New York, I was just like, yeah, I don't think there's elevated train tracks like that in Manhattan.
It's funny you say that. I was annoyed by that too.
Right.
Like when I saw it like a few years ago, but then I rewatched it earlier this year, and I was like, you know what? The scene is so good, I don't care.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's Joe.
You can
It's
forgive
Joey
it.
Diaz's
Like,
finest
yeah,
hour.
probably a little bit.
Everybody wants to be like Chicago.
You're right.
Okay, Spider-Man 2, first movie off the board. We move over to Tony for his first pick. What you got?
All right. So for me, when I'm looking at this, I'm going not the best films that are set in New York, because I could do that and there'll be some that are fantastic, but it doesn't have to be in New York for this film to work. For me, this category, it has to be a film that is like, if you took it and you put it in LA, it's like, for example, Heat, for example, it's a fantastic LA movie, but if you took it over and made it a New York film, it will still work. So I think you need to find a film that just works so perfectly and captures that part of the city. And the one that I'm going to go for first is a masterpiece. It tells the story of just this very hot day and just this, and all the relations and everything that goes into it. I know you do, but I think it's one of the best films I've seen in the last couple of years. It's absolutely incredible. Do the right thing.
Damn it.
This is gonna get interesting.
Respected.
All right, Jake, should we let you chime in on this one before we send it to Kaiser? Or would you want Kaiser's take first and then you rebut, or?
No, we don't need to hear from Kaiser on this one. Because no, we don't need to hear from him. This was easily my number one pick. Not even close. Like Spider-Man 2 was maybe like way down there, and this was like an entire Empire State Building above every other choice on my list, because this movie is New York. This movie, and this is obviously, it's not just the best New York movie, it's the best Brooklyn movie. I have been to that block. I have walked around Bed-Stuy a lot in my life. And yeah, I just think this movie just has aged so incredibly. And every performance is great, except maybe Spike himself, but like he's not an actor, but I can understand why he's in there. I just think that, I think this movie just perfectly captures what it's like to live in New York. And I'm going to be a simp really quick and read my Letterboxd review, because I think it does sum up my feelings pretty well. It's when people talk about world building, they usually refer to fantasy stories. And what Spike Lee does with Bed-Stuy is his incredible world building achievement as Middle-earth, Westeros, or any other giant fantasy world. This is the best New York movie of all time, and it's one of the best movies of all time, period. And that's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah.
Well,
Wake up.
Well, it is not entirely Jake's call as to who on the panel is allowed to chime in on movies. So Antonio or Kaiser, whoever wants to chime in first, go ahead.
Antonio, you can go first.
I will say this wasn't going to be my number one pick, but it was going to be like maybe my 2 or 3. Yeah, I do love this movie, and I do believe it's a quintessential required viewing for anybody that wants to see anything in New York, especially as a New Yorker. I feel like you have to see this. I saw this at a very young age, so imagine me comprehending all of that at a young age. But very awesome pick. I'm still mad that I don't get it, but great pick, Tony.
And then that leaves the floor for Kaiser.
Okay. To respond to Jonathan, he said this is one of Spike Lee's 3 great movies. Correction, there are 0 great Spike Lee movies. And this is merely like...
How did we let him on this panel if he's going to talk shit about Spike Lee?
Okay, but in fairness, this is one of his best. But because it's Spike Lee, I think it's fine. Like I didn't mind the script. I thought Spike Lee did a good job, but this movie just never landed home for me. Like I thought it was a little too heavy-handed at times, and that's why it never really landed for me. So wouldn't have really made my list, but I can see why people would like it more than me.
But I think it needs to be though, and I think that's why it works so well. Like I think that heavy-handedness that you feel, to me, is what makes this movie stick 32 years later, because you see what happens at the end of that movie, and then conversely, you see what was happening, all of what at least was being publicized all of last summer, but has been going on in this country for decades. And to see it just so viscerally realized like that, I think really burrows it home just how impactful this movie is.
Fair enough. All right.
I will just quickly throw out this is the first movie of, I believe, many that we're going to see Danny Aiello in. And I'll throw this out. I believe he's the most New Yorkian person to ever appear in a film. Like, there's a few other people you can think of, and it's like there's probably one person that's going to be picked a few times because of his work with a director. But it's just like whenever I see Danny Aiello, just like, yeah, you are New York, aren't you, mate? Every film that he does, even if it's not saying New York, just like you might as well just have the Yankee hat on, just be carrying just like the I Heart New York shirt. Everything about him just is New York.
I guess that's fair. All right, so Tony takes Do the Right Thing off the board, much to the chagrin of Jake. But Jake, you are up next. What are you taking for your first pick?
Yeah, I legitimately had to scramble here. There are a few that I did want, but I was like, okay, I can wait for round 2 and just pick Do the Right Thing first. So I'm debating between 2 movies that you would expect to go this high. But I'm going to pick the one that I think is, when people think of New York movies, they think more of this movie. And as much as Spike Lee is associated with the city of New York, Martin Scorsese is equally associated with the city of New York. So I am going to pick Taxi Driver as my first pick.
Oh.
There are some other Scorsese picks that will probably get picked later. Possibly even by me. There's a couple, but yeah, I think this movie is, I think a lot of people honestly thought like New York was like Taxi Driver, who didn't live there after Taxi Driver came out in 1976. It is that associated with, I think it is that closely associated with the city. It's a really incredible portrait of Times Square, what Times Square was like at the time. Times Square is sort of this opulent palace now, but back then it was just a rundown shithole by comparison. And like, yeah, you're not catching porn theaters in Times Square right now. I can promise you that.
No, M&M shops, maybe.
M&M shops, yes, but porn theaters, no. But yeah, this is, and obviously Robert De Niro's performance, I don't really need to say anything about it. It is every bit as good as everyone says. And I think it's just, and I also just love Peter Boyle. I love Harvey Keitel. I love Albert Brooks as the Sybil Shepherd's coworker on the presidential campaign. Jodie Foster is fantastic in what should be like a really gross exploitative role, but she gives it a humanity that I don't think most young actors could give that part. So yeah, I think Taxi Driver is just like, if you put it on a mount, if you pick a Mount Rushmore of New York movies, Do the Right Thing is absolutely there, and Taxi Driver is absolutely right next to it.
All right. Fair enough. Okay, the audible fuck, was that coming from Antonio when Jake made? Okay, go ahead. That one's bad.
I had to scramble, and this is also why I felt like, all right, as soon as Jake was in this match, I'm like, I lost. So, you know what? I'm gonna pull an audible. And
No, don't make it pick. Don't make it pick. We're still commenting on Taxi Driver. No, just put in your 2 cents on Taxi Driver if you so choose.
I wanted it. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, no.
I need to see it.
What?
The issue is that I have this massive thing about films where when they over sexualize children. So I fucking hate Let the Right One In. I hate Leon the Professional. I hate Kick-Ass. I hate these films because of that. I just the second the camera goes on a child like that, and my brain just goes, fuck this movie, fuck everyone involved in it. So every time I've heard this movie, it's like, oh, it's fantastic, it's incredible. Never watch it because you'll fucking hate it. It's like, okay, I'll see. So I watched Joker instead. So I've pretty much said,
oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh god.
The movie is an abomination. How dare you? If anybody picks that, I swear to God, I'm leaving.
It's the same movie, isn't it?
No, it's way worse.
Joker is like the palest imitation of a Travis Bickle there ever is.
Yeah.
It's more like Homeless Man's King of Comedy, if I'm being honest.
There you go. Yeah. I agree.
Fair.
All right, so Antonio, it falls to you to close out round number 1. What is your first overall pick?
All right. Yeah, let me just go with it. I think this is a different genre than most of you guys have picked. I'm gonna go
Rom-com.
Close. Mm-hmm. I guess you could. There's a little bit of romance in it. I'm gonna go with Ghostbusters.
A
little bit of romance. Again, saw it as a kid, and I don't know if you can make an argument this would work in LA. I just feel like Bill Murray is like one of those quintessential New Yorker, especially with that line. Like, nobody steps on, I forgot what the line is, but it's just, nobody steps on the church in my town. I think that's it.
Yeah.
So, that's just typical New Yorker thing. Like, whenever someone messes with us, we just want to, defend our shit. And, you got the New York Public Library, all the that firehouse that they set up in. I've been by that place a bunch of times. I think it's even there.
I used to work right down the street from there.
Yeah. I think it's just quintessential New York, especially for, comedies, Yeah. So... And even though the second one's not as good, but just the fact that they kept in New York, and I actually kind of hope the new one somehow makes its way back to New York, just for a little cameo, just to show the city a little bit. But otherwise, yeah, I think this is also required viewing, just comedy wise, for New York.
All right, we're gonna wait on Tony because I know how he feels about Bill Murray. So, Kaiser, Jake, whoever wants to,
don't let him speak at all. Just, again, I am pulling that card. Just don't.
I was say Jake's all about censoring everybody.
Yeah, free speech.
He's giving you.
Go on, Jake and Kaiser. Anyone?
Go ahead, Kaiser.
Okay, so yeah, as someone who believes that comedy doesn't necessarily translate internationally, the fact that this movie works for me so well should really speak to how fun it is and how much soul it has. I still haven't seen the 2016 version because reasons. It just didn't look very, very good. But the 1984 version definitely looked incredible, and I think it's also a very good portrait of a New York City, but in a goofy way. So it would have been on my list. It was actually my next pick.
Wait, how, Melissa? How? That's
God.
just. It feels like it'd be up your alley.
Yeah, I was about to say it's spooky and funny. Oh, wait,
Melissa, watch it tonight before you fly out. Anyway, yeah, I agree with both these guys. Ghostbusters is great. I mean, I don't really have anything deeper, insightful to add. It's just really fun. Contrary to what Tony would say, Bill Murray absolutely owns this movie. He is fantastic. Harold Ramis, R.I.P. God bless him and his mold, spores, and fungi. And the stealth. I mean, I don't know if he's stealth MVP because everybody wants to say he's the stealth MVP, but Rick Moranis as Louis Tully is just an absolute legend. And anybody who dares punch out Rick Moranis on the streets of New York, you're gonna feel the fucking consequences. I'm gonna promise you right now. Yeah.
I'm shocked they haven't found that guy yet. If they have, it was probably like street justice where like no one knows. He just gets crap kicked out of him every couple weeks by somebody. But yeah, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Here comes Tony's weird take on Bill Murray.
And just one quick thing before Tony slander is like, I think like Antonio said, like Tony was talking about where like it wouldn't work, like a movie wouldn't work anywhere else. Yeah, this is a perfect example of that. Like this movie would absolutely not work in Los Angeles or sorry, Peggy, Chicago or London or whatever. No, this movie is definitely very much New York.
Oh, yeah.
For my list, even though I dislike this film, I will say it's a quintessential New York film because it does have that feel of New York, especially in that 80s period of time where it's just like kind of coming out of being a bit seedy. I have another Sigourney Weaver film on my list. I have another comedy on my list, which I have higher up, but it's just.
Took me 2 seconds, but I know exactly where you're going with that one.
But Bill Murray fucking sucks in pretty much anything.
And Tony's an idiot, and Bill Murray does nothing of the kind. End of round one. Tony, if you would be so kind to give those who joined us late a recap of how round one went down.
Honestly, you insult me, then ask me to do something straight after.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. All right, so Kaz went first this round. He got with Spider-Man 2. I went with second with Do the Right Thing. Jake went third with Taxi Driver. And Antonio fourth with the third best Ghostbusters film, the original.
Pay no mind to the man giving the recap. Antonio, what is your second overall pick?
Okay, I think you might have already had a hint into what I was going to pick. Tony, at least I hope you don't hate me for this, but I'm going with it because I forgot about it. And then on the phone call, my brother, he brought it up, and I'm like, oh my God, how did I forget that one? I'm going to choose Working Girl.
Love it.
Because, I don't know, I love, what's her name? Melanie Griffith. And my boy Harrison Ford's in it. And I just thought, this would be considered a rom-com, sort of in a way, or at least mostly romance. I just love the opening shot alone. Just oh my God, it just captures New York and all its beauty, just from Staten Island going all the way to work in Manhattan. And I saw this for the first time in school, and then I became one of my favorites. That Carly Simon song also, I think was an Oscar winner, and I just love how everyone performed this movie.
New Jerusalem would be the song. The New Jerusalem is the name of the song.
Right, yeah.
I thought it was Let the River Run was the name of the song.
Damn it!
New Jerusalem is one at the start. Let the River Run is the one that won the Oscar for.
Whatever.
But either way, awesome movie. I feel like it really captures Alec Baldwin, again Harrison Ford, Sigourney Weaver, Joan Cusack. Everyone's amazing in this movie, I feel, and I just feel like it is also just a quintessential rom-com movie for New York.
So mad I missed the name of that. I'm glad that wasn't a question in the showdown. Anyways, you guys can yeah, Rory will not leave me alone. Sorry, guys.
I've been going on a binge the past couple of months of the female-led movies of like the comedies of the 80s and 70s. So, like I've been watching like 9 to 5, all these, and like so I put on Working Girl going, oh, this is a Harrison Ford film, but it's like in that period of time where he's like the biggest movie action star of all time. It's got Sigourney Weaver. She's just an alien. Like, and now he's doing this romantic comedy. Let's give it a crack. It's so good. It's just everything about it works so perfectly. Mike Nichols is a goddamn genius with this film. Melanie Griffiths, even though she was high on coke all the time shooting it, to the point I listened to a podcast earlier today because I was getting ready for this. She had to pay $50,000 because they had to shut down shooting one day because she was too high.
Damn.
So they literally, I went, we won't tell the studio about this. You pay out of your pocket, and she stayed clean the rest of the time. Got into rehab the day after shooting the film.
Things I did not know.
It's so good, and like Sigourney Weaver, Sigourney Weaver is like just so being like
he's a pure villain.
Yeah, and I didn't see the twists in it. I thought it was like, oh, it's those two working together. It'll be great. It's like Harrison Ford's going to be the villain. It's just like, oh my God, no, Ripley, what are you doing? Ripley, no, you're meant to be a heroine. It's just everything about it works so amazing. And you have Oliver Platt as a sleazeball, and the other guy as a sleazeball who was a real sleazeball.
Yeah, right.
I have never seen this movie,
What?
surprisingly.
Neither have I.
You should
Yeah,
have.
it's high on my watch list. I've been meaning to watch it for a long
Yeah,
time,
man.
and I've
Honestly.
just multiple times I've been like, okay, I'm gonna watch Working Girl, and then just other stuff came up, and I just have not gotten to it.
I mean, I can see how it'd be a blank spot. I mean, I can see it.
It has nothing to do with it being a rom-com. I've
Yeah,
seen my
it's
fair
fun.
share of rom-coms. I like rom-coms. I don't know why. Like, because then I like Harrison Ford. I like Sigourney Weaver. Melanie Griffith, I just haven't seen a lot of her work. I did watch Body Double recently. That was wild shit. But anyway, I just haven't gotten to it.
Yeah, it's that Harrison Ford film, but it just like sticks out like a sore thumb in his work filmography at that period of time. It's like he was either doing like his serious "Give Me My Fucking Oscar" movies, or he was doing the big blockbuster ones. So it was just like, and then he was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do this random little rom-com on the side with like, it'll be fine. And so a lot of people I think missed it.
He's like underrated when it comes to comedy. I feel like I know he's like he always comes off like a grump, but like when it comes to comedy, I just feel like he is like underrated.
Oh, 100%.
But all right, Working Girl, another one off the board to the chagrin of Tony this time. So Jake, how can you piss off Tony more? Can you do it?
Probably not. I might piss you off actually. Because there's one movie that I'm thinking about that I know you don't like very much. I'm between that and I'm between two older movies, like even older than the one I already picked. I think I'm not gonna make Peggy annoy Peggy.
I'm not drafting. Annoy me all you want.
It might come up later, so we'll see. But anyway, I'm gonna go with a movie I just rewatched for the first time in like 15 years the other day. That it is shot in New York. It was shot in New York. It takes place in New York, but it pretty much only takes place in one room the entire time. But it still feels quintessentially New York because of all of the characters, all 12 characters stuck in this room together.
Nice.
I am going with the absolutely fantastic 12 Angry Men.
Damn, good one.
As my next pick. While it may not have the sort of sights that you would associate with New York, I think, like I said, all 12 of these characters, I think, really represent a really interesting cross-section of 1957 New York. You have, and I think it's just an absolute murderer's row of character actors. Like in addition to Henry Fonda as the lead, who's brilliant, but Lee J. Cobb is like the greatest character actor who ever lived. And he's the ostensible villain of the movie, Juror Number 3, and he's also incredible in another movie that might come up later. We'll see. Martin Balsam as the foreman is also great. Jack Warden is another highlight as Juror Number 7. He's kind of the cynical sleazeball salesman who takes some convincing. Well, a lot of people take some convincing, all 11 of them. But no, just I think what's incredible about this movie is it's only 96 minutes long, yet it has more story and character development packed into that 96 minutes than most movies twice its length, than almost every movie twice its length out there. It's just a masterclass in economic storytelling, and you get a lot of these things about apartment living in New York is like essential to sort of mapping out sort of why this case is not as clear cut as you would think. Cause it's about like, oh, this person is living, like I heard this person fall in the apartment upstairs after the kid shouts, "I'm going to kill you." And it's the woman who's the witness, like trying to see it through an elevated train. There were elevated trains in New York at one point. Yeah, it's just like those little details, I think, make it more, I guess, quintessential New York. And just in addition to it just being just a phenomenal story. And another one that takes place on the hottest day of the year as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's New York doesn't immediately pop to mind when I think 12 Angry Men, but your explanation of why it's quintessentially New York, I can see it. I can definitely see it.
I buy it.
Yeah, this is on my list of the best films set in New York, but not the best New York films. So I have that high up. It's just like I feel like you could have put it in any city and it would have still worked. Just like you did explain a little bit just like how the L train works, but you could like slide in like another like road or something, and it will still.
I think some of those little details do really add to the New Yorkness of it, but yeah,
it is amazing. I will argue on one point though. You mentioned Jack Warden. He's the only character I didn't like. He's the only actor.
I mean, he's an asshole. Yeah.
No, it's not that. It's the fact that he's Rodney Dangerfield 20 years beforehand. Every single thing about him, the way he looked, the way he talked, the way he's like, it felt like he was about to say the words "no respect," and I couldn't get it out of my head the entire way of the movie. Every time he talked, he was just like, "Are you like his father?"
Also, shout out to Ed Begley for being just a giant fucking racist.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Juror number 4, E.G. Marshall. It's like he was he's the best character for that movie. It's just like the whole cold of just like, give me the facts. Like it's like the weight.
The whole scene with the glasses is just that whole bit is just incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of what Ajay said. Actually, I'm a bit surprised there are more like jury jury movies out there, because the concept is so good. It's like 12 random people from all walks of life get to determine the fate of someone's life, and it's such an interesting concept that isn't really explored enough. And in this movie, is explored so well, because even though 10K Juror number 3 is supposed to be like the villain, by the end of the movie, you definitely know where he's coming from, and you actually do sympathize with him. And yeah, it's an incredible movie. I also wouldn't really think that it's a New York movie, but then that's maybe because I don't really get the references, but it's still a great movie, and yeah, one of the best classic movies I've ever watched for sure.
Yeah, that's fair. Cool. 12 Angry Men joins Jake's squad. Tony, what movie will be joining yours?
All right, so I got a couple in mind. I don't want to go off the beaten path too much yet. I think I'll go for that. I'm going to go for. I think I'm going to save one because I don't think Kaz take it. But so I'm going to go for one that this movie has to be so New York that they at the point of when they shot it, they had to go to New York and shoot it in a particular place because nowhere else in the world had this environment to do it. It is one of the best thriller films of all time. I don't get how good this movie is shot, just being just like, hey, we're gonna put you on a train underground, and that'll be it for the movie. And just like, and just the thrill of just that, all that, the taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, the 74 version, the Water Mathau, that just like, oh man, just like I'm scared to go to Subway because of that film.
What? Really?
Bro.
I'll just be like, every time I'll just be like watching, just going like,
so you didn't get robbed.
And it's just like, and it feels like every film has kind of aped to like, or like borrow bits from it, especially like it probably is one of the best train films of all time as well. And as I said, it's just like this film had to be New York.
Yeah, I've never seen the original. I've only seen the remake, so I'll let you guys have it.
I have seen the original, but not the remake. But I didn't. I had it as an honorable mention just because it's been too long since I've seen it. But I remember really, really liking it when I saw it, and I love Robert Shaw in just about anything he does. So having Robert Shaw as the villain is just an absolute home run. And another movie with Martin Balsam in it. He plays Mr. Green, I believe.
He does.
And
This
he's
is
great.
Peacock
He's
wasn't
great
there?
in that too.
Sorry.
Unfortunately, he cannot be on this in this episode, or else it would be my number one pick.
No, yeah. When we do a DC movie, then yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. Also, it's such a good film that Tarantino stole it for Reservoir Dogs for the colors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I actually didn't know that.
That's exactly where he got it from. Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Only steals from the best.
Yep.
I saw both the original and the remake, and obviously the original is better. Remake's just I don't know, just different tone. But otherwise, I thought, yeah, the original. I don't know. My father's 81, so obviously he grew up and he was here during that time. So therefore, I was kind of influenced to see certain movies that I was like, I don't know, again, too young to comprehend, but I still loved it when I saw it, and I saw it again when I was older, and I just really see why it's just a classic New York film, especially being in the subway. I mean, come on, subways. I know everyone else has subways. LA has subways. You guys have subways. Chicago has subways. But like, I don't know. When you think subway, I think you think New York. So
it is. It's New York. It's New York.
That's
This
cool.
is somewhere.
I'll concede that. Yeah, that's fine.
There was a
Y'all got the L.
Right, you get the elevator. Right.
There was a thing that I read about the remake and compared to the original. It was that the original is a New York film. Everything about it is New York, whereas the remake it's a Hollywood film.
Yes.
And be New York.
Right.
And I just love the fact that still to this day, they will try, if they got any trains to Pelham, they will make sure it never goes on 1:23 a.m. or p.m. They'll just make sure it never happens.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move over to Kaiser to close out round number 2 while I sit here and pet Rory like I'm some sort of evil villain. I've noticed that I've been doing that for
evil villains have cats. You have a horrible villain. Sorry.
But Kaiser, what you got to close out round number 2?
Okay, so to close out round number 2, when I think about a New York, one of the first things I also think about is Wall Street. And when I think about a Wall Street, I think about excess and drugs. And that's why I am picking Martin Scorsese's The Wolf of Wall Street.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, honestly, to me, this might be Leonardo DiCaprio's best performance that he has ever given. Period. It's holy shit. He lays everything out on the table as this sleazy banker who is also like someone who is really pitiful and someone who is really just and how do I put it nicely?
Greedy asshole.
They just say someone who lives in his own head and doesn't live in the real and should care about other people more, just a little bit more. But yeah, this movie, when I think about a New York, is about excess, and this movie is just excess, and I don't know how accurate this movie is, but it's definitely one that I think about when I picture New York in my head. It's just executives being assholes and being rich and just doing drugs. Take that as you will.
Fair. Well, let's ask the 2 former and current New Yorkers. Whatever.
I mean, that's not entirely it's not entirely inaccurate, but my only thing about this movie in particular, why I wasn't really going to consider it, is that Stratton Oakmont was located on Long Island and not necessarily in New York City.
Yeah.
So that was sort of why I left it off. But a lot of it does take place in New York and is shot in New York. So it's not like I entirely ruled it out. It's on my list, just relatively low. But yeah, this movie's fantastic. Like I love it too. I think it's Scorsese's best movie of the 2010s for sure, and it's either that or The Departed for 2000 for just the 21st century.
Have you seen Hugo?
Hugo is not that good.
Hugo's good, but just nothing. You can't mention it with those 2.
It's fine. But yeah, this movie's great. And like Kaiser said, I think this might be DiCaprio's crowning achievement just in terms of acting. And it just makes me sad that he won for Crawling Inside of a Bear 2 years later instead of this virtuoso masterpiece of a performance for the Quaalude scene alone.
Yeah,
come on.
Yeah, as someone who lived in New York, I understand that there was some parts shot in New York. I really don't think of New York when it comes to
there are other Scorsese movies I more associate with New York City.
I agree. Again, awesome movie. Leonardo's should have won for this or Django, in my opinion. But yeah, I just don't really consider it like it, especially because the drugs aspect. I'm like, okay, yeah, you mean most stockbrokers did that and all that shit. But as a New York movie, I just don't think it really speaks to, like, I guess the city as a character.
It is the best film with the word Wall Street in it, though.
Yes,
hear that.
I also like it more than the other one that you're thinking of. Yes, I also prefer it.
I watched that one for the first time this week, thinking, "Oh, this is always expected to be like one of the best films of all time. I'm gonna definitely draft this film." It's like, Greed is good apparently, but apart from this movie's bad.
That quotes from something different. That's right. I just gotta pull this up real quick because Corey put this up, and when I read that, I went immediately to Dumb and Dumber. Anybody else? Does anybody else? The guy's like, "Get off the phone," and the guy's like, "I can't hear you," and he punches him through the phone booth. Nobody? No. All right. Anyway,
I mean, other than the Quaalude scene, the lasting image from this movie will be Jonah Hill slurring the name Steve Madden out of his mouth. That always gets me.
Not Margot Robbie. Come on, man.
Yeah, I was about to say I have a particular.
Listen, I will never object to Margot Robbie in any way, shape, or form in a movie. But like, her being good is less surprising than Jonah Hill being that good at like with still a mostly comedic performance, but like able to play a character like that.
Just
I think at the time, like, because Jonah was still coming off like. He had Funny People. He had like Moneyball.
Yeah, Moneyball. But this was a different level. He was going for it really hard. Yeah. Like he took like the SAG minimum to be in the movie because he wanted to be in it that bad. He just wanted to work with Scorsese.
Scorsese's enough to not get him.
Yeah.
I'd probably do the same if I really wanted the role, honestly. But all right, Wolf of Wall Street closes out round 2. Not to any spoilers, we were just talking about it. But anyways, Tony, recap time, if you would be so kind.
Antonio went first this round, and he stole my damn pick of Working Girl. Jake went second with 12 Angry Men. I went with Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. And then Kaiser went with The Wolf of Wall Street.
And we enter into round number 3. Kaiser, what do you have up your sleeve?
Okay, this one, I don't think a lot of people actually knew that it takes place in New York. But when I think about New York, I also think about this movie, like, namely how beautiful it is and how well it's shot and how good it looks. I'm actually talking about 1961's Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, okay. I definitely know that's in New York. I mean, yeah.
But then I don't think a lot of people like really associate with like New York. But to me personally, this is the best I ever seen in New York. Being like seeing Audrey Hepburn wearing her sunglasses and just like walking around the whole damn place is like just brightens up my day. And yeah, this I know a lot of people think that Audrey gives. This is not Audrey's best performance, but this is her most iconic, and it's the most iconic for a reason. Her singing Moon River, I could watch that all day, every day, and yeah, this is a great movie and definitely really embodies some parts of New York to me.
I will agree with you. Not her best performance, but probably most definitely her most iconic performance. I mean, everyone probably goes straight to that movie when they think of Audrey Hepburn. And I'm just gonna keep silent because I am not the biggest fan of Audrey Hepburn as compared to most. So you guys can go ahead.
I really like this movie, with the giant exception of it wears a giant Mickey Rooney-sized millstone around its neck.
Yeah.
That's fair.
It is appalling on so many levels what Mickey Rooney is doing in Breakfast at Tiffany's. But yes, the rest of the movie is very good. It's been a while since I've seen it, and I wasn't going to pick it because of Mickey Rooney. But yes, the Moon River scene is absolutely delightful. Her looks are iconic. The dresses, and I mean, she's a beautiful woman. I don't think that's controversial, but yeah, but yes, there are other better Audrey movies I've seen, but yeah, I agree with the iconic thing about it. But yeah, Mickey Rooney, it's a hard pass from me, dog.
Okay. Also, as far as the best looking New York movie ever, I should state it with a predicate. I have not seen a single Woody Allen movie, so for those Manhattan lovers, I don't know.
Don't worry, you don't.
Manhattan is as gross as Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's, if not more so. You're not missing out on that one.
Okay.
We could probably draft most egregious casting of all time if one of these episodes. And Rooney would make the list for sure.
He would be He would maybe be my first overall pick.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I need to watch this. I've still not watched it.
Oh wow.
I know, it's just been one of those ones where it's just like, what happened was the fucking song ruined this movie for me. Because whenever I think of this movie, I don't think of Moon River. I don't think of the scene of her eating breakfast in front of Tiffany store. I think of that Deep Blue Something song of Breakfast at Tiffany's. And it just ruins it for me.
That's fair.
God.
I've never seen this movie, so I know that. I just know it's a call. That's it.
Now it's in my head.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll watch it at some point. I'll watch it this weekend.
You say that we got.
Oh, God.
All right, Tony, make your
Karaoke.
next pick, please.
All right, I'm gonna go for. All right,
I'm not
so
going to karaoke.
one of the things that I think about New York is you think of the Statue of Liberty, you think of immigration or that, and there are some films that do that story well and like really treat that well. I'm not going for one of the serious ones. I'm going for the guy from Wakanda.
42? Sorry, I didn't mean to. Sorry.
I think are you going for the other movie that I think you're thinking of?
I'm a fucking idiot. I meant Zamunda.
Oh,
There you go.
Oh, okay.
Wow, Tony.
Yeah.
Would have made my list.
Coming to America.
Yep.
It's
Wait,
the
coming to or coming to?
The first one.
no, the
I
first
hope.
one. Oh, God.
even
To draft a sequel, I would
even though Coming to America did send me swag, Coming to America, the original, is much better in every way, shape, or form. How the fuck did I get Wakanda mixed up with Zamunda? Anyway, I'm an idiot. But this is probably one of the best fish out water comedies of all time. Eddie Murphy is fantastic in every single role that he does. Arsenio Hall is great. James Earl Jones is James Earl Jones in his finest, like when he's not a lion. I think that just everything about this movie just works perfectly, and it just captures just so much wonderful culture of New York and Africa, and it blends it together so well.
So as you see, my son, there is a fine line between love and nausea. I'm just quoting random lines from the movie. It is one of my favorite rom-coms of all time. Would have made my top 5. Don't know where exactly would have been on the list, but it definitely would have made my list. I would have picked it before all you motherfuckers. So definitely top 2. So love it. Excellent pick, Tony. Carry on.
This movie.
It was pretty high. It was pretty high on my list. No, go ahead.
This movie
ahead,
is
Kaiser.
not that. This movie is not that funny, but
What?
for a New York movie,
Kick him
it's
off the freaking
sub-
stream right now.
serviceable.
I'll allow it because comedy gets lost in translation a lot.
Okay.
I mean, Eddie Murphy is also not funny in a general, so that's fine. But
Wow, you just broke Peggy.
Broke
Wow.
Peggy.
This was why Tony brought Kaiser in here to break somebody, and Peggy was the one.
I mean, okay.
yeah.
To be fair, it's a little funnier than Norbit, but not by much.
Okay, a
I
little
just,
bit funny.
A little.
To be fair, I guess if you take away the voice of Eddie Murphy, he's just a fat guy in drag. It's like Big Mama's House. So I think that
it's not that bad. It's okay.
Okay, can we get some America in here to set this shit straight? Because this movie is brilliant. This movie is hilarious.
Again, look, like you said, Jake, though, man, like it is kind of weird that you're right. Comedy gets lost in translation, but I mean, how much more can get lost in translation with this funny joke? I mean, unless you're offended by some of the jokes, that's different. Because I can understand if they're like offensive.
So we've gone through the Brooklyn movie and Do the Right Thing. This is the Queens movie.
Yes.
Coming to America. Yeah. For sure. And yeah, I think just across the board, everybody is fantastic. Eddie Murphy, Arsenio Hall is throwing 103. John Amos as Mr. McDowell. And Peggy, you're muted.
Cleo McDowell.
Yeah, Louis Anderson, Minnesota's own, as also fantastic.
Fries. Then the group.
Yeah,
Eric LaSalle.
Yeah, Eric LaSalle is So Glow. I'm not gonna do the song because I value my voice, but wow, you really went there. No, this movie's hilarious. I watched it earlier this year to prep for Coming to America, which is very disappointing.
Yes, it is.
But no, this movie is great and will stand the test of time. I'll be watching this when I'm as old as the guys in Mighty Sharp.
Yeah, there are a few,
Right.
there are a few movies I've seen more often than Coming to America, honestly.
Sexual chocolate.
That boy's good. Good and terrible.
I was about to say, I think that's the most annoying thing about coming to America is just the lack of the side characters for me. Because I would have I want Barbershop, the Ice Cube film, but set in that barbershop in Coming to America. Just give me a whole
film on the Mighty Sharp Guys.
Yeah, just give me a whole, just like put Ice Cube's character from Barbershop in that room with just Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy doing every other character. It'll be the greatest thing you'll ever see.
We don't even need Ice Cube. Just let Eddie and Arsenio cook.
Yeah. Ha ha.
I say that almost every day. I do that almost every day.
Warren, shut up. Sorry, she knows I'm leaving tomorrow, so she's being all aggro, wanting attention. But all right, Tony makes an excellent pick with Coming to America. Jake, you're up.
Okay. So I wasn't gonna annoy Peggy last round, but I think I will this round. To me, this is one of my 20 favorite movies of all time. Shot in New York, another classic. This one from 1960, directed by community favorite Billy Wilder. I am, of course, picking the absolutely incredible The Apartment.
Oh shit! Wait, Peggy, this annoyed you? Shit. Okay.
Peggy does not appreciate this movie.
It's overrated by such a long shot. It's crazy to me. I mean, it's not a bad movie, but I don't understand how it is lauded as much as it is, honestly. But
I still gotta see it.
It's Jack Lemmon is why.
Right.
Jack Lemmon is.
I like My Fellow Americans. Jack Lemmon's in that one. I don't see me drafting it every other week.
Jack Lemmon is just a charisma machine, and it's just such an incredible character, CeCe Baxter, and you get sort of the corporate world of New York, like different from Wolf of Wall Street, a lot less less drugs and excess, but you get philandering and such, carousing, if you will. The whole thing is like, so Lemon is sort of a aspiring corporate climber in his insurance company who, in order to climb the ladder, he basically lends out his apartment to executives of the company to take women there to sleep with. That's sort of the basic setup. And there's a lot of comedic misadventures with him trying to sort of coordinate, like, which executive gets which day and whatnot. And eventually he meets Shirley MacLaine's character, and Shirley MacLaine, yet another charisma machine. She is just a delight. I love Shirley MacLaine, especially in this movie. And their relationship, I think, is really sweet and really genuine. And I just love how it develops. Fred McMurray as the really big asshole exec, also just a great villain. And another one of the best final lines in movie history, when Lemon and McLean are just sitting on the couch about to play gin rummy, and he's just like confessing his love for her, and she's like, "Shut up and deal." It's just great. And I could go on about this movie. This is my second favorite Billy Wilder movie. The other one is not eligible for this, but this movie's amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, although a lot of people say this movie is funny, the scene that sticks with me most in this movie is and I wouldn't spoil it, but it's when a certain someone overdoses. That scene is, even though this movie is a comedy, that scene is absolutely horrifying and absolutely just heartbreaking to watch. And if you haven't seen it, I will not spoil it any further. It's all
the tonal tightrope this movie pulls is really incredible.
Yeah.
It's just wonderfully written. It's just like I'm just pulling it up now just to see. It did win best picture, best screenplay, best director. Just everything.
Should have won best actress.
Yeah.
Shirley MacLaine didn't win.
I
Wow.
love Shirley, but
No, Elizabeth Taylor won for Battlefield 8.
Nobody remembers that movie.
She should have
Yeah.
won for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, maybe, but
Yeah.
She
come
did.
on, bro.
She did.
This is definitely on my list of things to watch.
Did she win?
She did.
Yes. Oh, I was thinking of the different year. That was the year after. I was thinking of Katharine Hepburn.
This movie gets brought up all the time on the show, and it's such a fantastic movie. Just like everything works so great in it. It's just like, and Freddie McMurray is one of the biggest dicks in cinema. Just like Sheldrake is just one of the perfect. Just like it's the thing about is like he's such a believable boss villain character. It's just like you've probably had a boss in your life where you just go, oh yeah, if you need to sleep with someone, I would imagine you'd be like them.
The looks that Peggy is giving
Yeah.
is just exactly what I wanted.
Antonio, you're up.
All right. Okay. Here I'm stuck between two. My brother's recommending one, but I'm gonna go against his advice and hopefully it doesn't bite me in the ass. Plus, I think it's my favorite film in this franchise. Yeah, it's my favorite film in this franchise, and I'm not ashamed of it. I'm gonna go with Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, okay. That's an interesting pick.
Action, because I also feel like I have to fill every genre too, so I'm going with action this one. This is actually the first movie I saw in the franchise. Again, I don't know. I don't know. My viewing has always been weird. I've always seen sequels rather than the first one when I was younger. Not on purpose, just I happened to see it. And so this one, I just feel like also, I mean, think about it. It's John McClane. He's a cop from New York. It shows pretty much everywhere in New York. Yankee Stadium, Harlem, Tompkins Square Park, Wall Street. They pretty much also make fun of how people just drive in traffic in New York. And also just the fact that he's stealing cars from just random pedestrians. And like always, if that happened to us, we just say like "fuck off," you know. And then and Jeremy Irons, I think, not as obviously. Alan Rickman is the best villain. I just feel like Jeremy Irons is pretty up there as well. And I think just Bruce Willis and Sam Jackson together, just iconic duo for them to explore New York together. Funny in its own way. It's actually filmed near me, also, like around what was it, Astor Place, like Union Square.
Okay.
And even and then the whole scene where they drove through Central Park, amazing too. But yeah, I just think as a New York action movie, this is definitely possibly at the top of the list for me.
Oh, cool. Looks like you got a few nods as you were talking. Anybody else have this on their list?
I did not, but that's only because I haven't seen it in a really long time. I mean, I really liked it when I saw it. It's just it's one I really need to revisit to, I think, fully appreciate. Because to me, it's just like the first Die Hard and then everything else.
Yeah.
So, but it's definitely one I think is worth revisiting, and I hope to someday.
For me, much like Antonio, I watched the sequels before I watched the original. But in my case, I watched A Good Day to a Die Hard first.
Oh no!
Yeah,
That's painful. Okay.
yeah. So I watched that one first. Then I watched the first Die Hard. But then because I watched a few one first, I hated John McClane already. So I couldn't really connect to his characters, to his character that even when I watched this particular movie, Die Hard with Avengers, I thought it was a pretty good buddy cop movie. But then because I don't really like Bruce Willis as John McClane, I couldn't really get into it. But pretty good movie, just not on my list. Yeah.
If I didn't watch the subway scene in Die Hard with Vengeance, I wouldn't have picked Taking the Venom 1, 2, 3. I watched that earlier today and went, "Oh, this is great." Well, what's the other movie that's set in the subway? Oh, that's so much better. But Die Hard with Vengeance, same situation. It was always on TV over here, so it was the first one I watched, and it's just like it's probably one of the best buddy cop movies there is. Like it goes everywhere. It's great, and it's just like the original Die Hard just beats it ever so slightly, just because of how cool John McClane is compared to. John McClane is an absolute badass, awesome guy in the first one, and then this one, it's really interesting how they've kind of like just dirtied him up and made him a bit shitter and made him like a drunk and made him all this. Just like so interesting seeing an action hero, especially in the time of like, oh, you've got your Arnie's, you get your Sylvester Stallones, or being muscular, like I am the greatest man to ever live, and it's just like John McClane is like the antithesis of that. He's like someone that's breaking down every movie, and it's so good. As in, he's well built, but he's not like a muscular, like built in like 17 brick house type.
Well,
deal.
yeah,
And
he's
also,
not gonna be fucking Rambo. He's a fucking New York cop.
but it's also the fact that it's just like in those. But it's also, I was saying, like in like the Arnold Schwarzenegger characters, they're always like the perfection of man.
If you're
What
gonna be
men
like
should be.
antithesis, it would be like the kid from the New Guy or something. Like someone who's like weighs like a $105 soaking wet. Like,
well, he was a kid. He was a guy
Bruce
from.
Willis does not fall into that category by any stretch of the imagination.
He was a guy from a random sitcom when he did the first Die Hard. Like he wasn't. He was this horny-ish guy in comparison to like to all the 80s action heroes at the time.
Anyways, but I don't know.
And also, Simon says it's probably one of the best villains in cinema.
Yeah,
just
I'd go Simon Phoenix before I'd go him. That's just...
Ooh,
I mean, I like both.
Yeah.
But we have reached the end of round number 3. Tony, it falls upon you once again to give a recap to those who joined us late. Get that little
with a vengeance.
Big ass sleeve.
See if you spelled vengeance right.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's why I went back to try and change it before Peggy threw it to me. Because my first round, he went with Breakfast at Tiffany's. I went second with Coming to America. Jake went with The Apartment, and Antonio Die Hard with A Vengeance.
Into round number 4 we go. Antonio, where are you taking us on this journey through New York City?
Okay. I might end up regretting this decision later, but screw it. All right, so we already talked about the best Brooklyn movie, the best Queens movie. So now I'm gonna go with the best Bronx movie. I'm gonna pick A Bronx Tale.
Okay.
That's De Niro directed it, starred in it. Well, not co-starred in it, if you want to talk about it. Another great movie I saw as a kid, showing New York back in the day. Got also Yankee Stadium. Yankee fan ends up getting with the gangsters and all that stuff, and then also I feel like it's an accurate portrayal of the whole how racism was back in those days, because he was afraid to tell that he was he liked a black girl and all that stuff, and how that might have called the war. And as much as Lilo Brancato is controversial nowadays, I do think he did a great job. But I just thought De Niro directing and acting in it, Chaz Palminteri is fucking phenomenal. I think they even made a Broadway play out of this. So yeah, this is actually one of my favorite movies of all time. And again, not just because it's New York, but I just feel like it being in New York, specifically the Bronx, just makes it awesome.
Gotcha. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the movie that taught me that I'm like, it's a moot point nowadays, but when a guy opens the car door for you, you get in, you reach over, you unlock. Yep, I learned it from this movie.
I've not seen this film in donkeys. I can't barely remember anything about it.
Oh wow!
God,
I haven't seen
What?
it.
I have never seen this either.
Really? Oh shit! All right, now I feel
it's like Working Girl. It has been on my list for a very long time. I just haven't gotten to it.
It's always a film that I've known about because it's the one De Niro directed, and it's one that's meant to be great. But it's just like, I don't know. I've just never got around to it. I'm not that big a fan of mob films, so it's kind of like that's kind of a big reason for me.
It is, I would say, when it comes to like underrated, especially underrated New York mob films, I will say it's like underrated. Like as far as like, it's not obviously you think of all the other stuff, especially Scorsese stuff, then yeah, you're not really gonna think. But it is the fact that it is De Niro directing it. I think it was his first directorial debut. So, but otherwise, I thought it was pretty well made. Nothing too crazy. Like yeah, it's a mob film, but it's nothing like Scorsese stuff or like it's all bloody and stuff. But it was a really good, heartfelt. Again, great acting all around. So something that if you guys ever do end up watching, I feel like you guys will enjoy it for sure.
All right. I think Peggy's muted, but it's And she's still
And
muted.
she's still muted.
Still muted.
But it's back. But hey, what's up?
It would not be an episode of Fantasy Film Fights if I didn't talk while muted at some point. But anyway, Jake, round number 4. What you got?
Okay. I'm debating between another classic and a modern one.
Modern.
I think classics.
I think
you're kicking ass.
I don't think anybody's gonna take my class. I don't think anybody's gonna take either of them. So I'm gonna take a risk and go with the classic. This movie is like 12 Angry Men, also from 1957. And this is one of my favorite first time watches of 2021 was this movie. And it introduced me to, I think, one of the greatest actors who's ever lived, and is somebody who I really want to see more of his movies. Bert Lancaster. I am talking about the sweet smell of success is my pick.
Right. I have never seen this one, so please do tell. Give me like a little.
Yeah. Okay. So Bert Lancaster plays this sort of notorious tabloid journalist in New York. He's based on a real life guy named Walter Winchell, but the character's name is the incredibly named J.J. Hunsaker. Just an awesome name. And then Tony Curtis plays another incredibly named character, Sidney Falco. Tony Curtis is like this sort of aspiring small-time press agent who's like trying to like get his clients more attention in Hunsaker's column. So he potentially his grandson. That is canon. Shane Falco is Sidney Falco's grandson. I'm just gonna. That's my head canon. But anyway, yeah. And so throughout this movie, you get the sort of push and pull between these guys, where like Tony Curtis just so badly wants to get into this orbit of this like almost mythological figure of Hunsaker, Lancaster's character, and both of these guys are just so cutthroat and so ruthless. And to me, that is sort of the spirit that really captures the spirit of New York. Just these guys, just relentless go-getter attitude that they will like stop at nothing to get to the top of their professions. And I think that's a New York mentality, even both from 60 years ago, even to today. And I think this movie just brilliantly captures that. And just both of these actors, just absolute heavyweights, giving heavyweight performances. And it's not readily available on streaming, but I like found it on the Turner Classic Movies channel. Like the streaming channel over here, and I saw it and I was like, holy shit, this is one of the best New York movies ever made already. After just seeing it once, I was blown away.
Gotta say something real quick. Pain heals, chicks think scars. Glory lasts forever. Sorry, it moved when I was trying to.
Anthony, go back to hanging out with Aaron.
But yeah, this is one I've never seen it. I've heard it referenced in Aaron Sorkin's The Newsroom, but never seen the movie.
Great series. Oh.
Yeah, right? Well, at least season 1 was amazing.
I think actually it's funny. It's funny you say that. I think the Sorkin, I can see a lot of influence on Sorkin from this movie.
Yeah, I can. I can't confirm.
With
But
script.
He loves it. Seems to love it.
Do you know what other TV director got a massive influence from this movie?
Who?
Vince Gilligan, I should say,
Really?
because yep,
I can also see that.
Well, to the point where episodes 2 and 3 of the first season of Breaking Bad was called "Cats in the Bag" and "The Bag in the River," which are references to Sweet Smell of Success.
Yeah, the Walter White Jesse Pinkman dynamic is kind of similar actually to the Hunsaker Falco dynamic in Sweet Smell of Success. I just inject all Burt Lancaster into my veins, please. I need to see Atlantic City desperately.
This is a film that's been on my list to watch for a very long time. I need to get around to it.
Me too.
Yeah, Burt Lancaster is a fantastic. Don't get me wrong, but I just haven't seen it all like gotten around to it.
Yeah, no worries about that. All right, Sweet Smell of Success is off the board unless I'm cutting anybody off. You good? All right. Tony, you're up. Round number 4.
All right. Oh, fuck. There's so many on my list, but
You get
there's
two more and that's it.
I know. All right, I want to talk about this film just because it's one of my favorite. I was watching clips of this today, and it made me cry. So I need to talk about this film. It's The Greatest Love Letter to New York City. It's a documentary, and and the way that they make this documentary is so fascinating because it's almost like done as a heist film of like, and everything that works around it is so wonderfully done, and it's the most beautiful story of just this man in love with a city, even though he's French. Man on Wire is one of the best documentaries.
Oh, you fucking bastard.
Yes.
Never seen it.
Oh, you need to.
No idea.
I think this was my.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie was made based off of this dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Man on Wire, right?
Yeah. So this is about. Let me get his name because it's French.
Philippe Petit.
Philippe Petit,
who
walked between this war trends, the Twin Towers in 1974, and just like, and it goes into really so much depth into like how he was able to do it and like what and why and his passion for not only the ability to be able to walk and wire walk, but also just his love of the towers as well, and just the beauty that they had. Just like, it's the greatest love letter to New York.
I don't understand tightrope walkers.
They're all insane.
They're nuts.
I'm like, you have at it. There's fine.
I didn't either
I'll
until
be
I saw this
okay over
movie.
here.
This movie will make you understand them.
All right, I guess I need to put it on the list.
If I remember correctly, I think this was my first overall pick when I was on the documentaries episode last year of Fantasy Film Fights.
Now,
and there's a reason for that,
did you watch it
because-
after his pick or before?
No, I watched it years ago. Like, this,
okay. I was just curious if you had influenced him at all.
No, I think
I
Sorry,
agree with everything. I agree with everything Tony said about this movie. I absolutely adore it. It's one of my favorite documentaries of all time. It was. I wrote it down, but there's so many bangers. But this one's out exactly what you said. Just a great love letter to New York. And I think, I don't know if you can speak to this, but like, as somebody who lives across the pond and like seeing of like a foreigner's view of New York and a foreigner's appreciation of New York, like it just shows the city differently in a way that you might not necessarily get from a native New Yorker, but is no less heartfelt.
Yeah, I think that's the thing about this movie that does it well, because it's taking it from the eyes of because we've talked about so many films that treat New York as like the whole oh, we're New Yorkers, so this just like this person just like is almost in love with this city in like in a romantic way, not in some of the documentaries that you might find, but just like it's such like this beautiful story, and there's the story of how he does it is amazing, and then the last bit of when talking about him like losing his towers, as he calls it, with 9/11, that is just this heartbreaking moment of just it's so beautifully done.
I will have to put it on the list.
I don't watch The Walk. The Walk is fucking terrible.
Yeah, Zemeckis kind of ruined that for me.
It's meh.
It's what The Walk is great to watch for the scenes of the tight walk, especially if you can watch it in IMAX. The rest of the film fucking sucks.
Yeah,
I'd
it's
be
very
sitting there
much.
feeling like I was gonna fall off the
forgettable.
side of the building along with the dude. Heights and me, as long as there's like a window or something. If it's open air, I'm freaking out. If it's enclosed, I'm good. But anyway, okay. So Man on Wire goes on to Tony's team. Kaiser, falls to you to close out round number 4.
Okay, this pick is a weird one because this is one movie that you won't really think about as the New York that you know about. But I'm still picking a Scorsese movie, but I'm picking 1993's The Age of Innocence. So, fun fact, I studied this book for my A-level. This is actually my A-level text. So yeah, I had to write New York as its own character throughout like 10 essays in like 2016. But holy shit, old New York at that time is very different to New York now, because at that time New York, you can think of New York at that time as a model after British high society. It's like there's a lot of costume, there's a lot of like there's a lot of things there's a lot of like social norms, there's a lot of things that you can say and that you cannot say. And this movie is very, very well realized because, yeah, Daniel Day-Lewis's character is a lawyer, but he's oppressed by New York. And by oppressed, I mean that he wants to, he's already married to someone, but he wants to cancel his marriage to so-called elope with Michelle Pfeiffer's character. But New York, the character, with all its social norms, with all its contradictions, with all its traditions, is the one that is stopping him. And the reason why I like this movie is because it's such a departure from what we know of like modern New York, and it's a very good expression of like pre-industrial era of New York, and yeah, I love it.
I've never seen it. All I think of when someone says Age of Innocence is the Ted Lasso scene where they're talking about the Scorsese movies, and Isaac McAdoo shouts out that Age of Innocence, bruv, is like the best one. So that is the extent of my knowledge on that particular Scorsese film. So I'm hoping someone on this panel has something more intelligent to add to the conversation that's going on, because I just don't.
Yeah, I watched this movie for the first time last year. It had been a Scorsese blind spot for me. I really liked it. I wouldn't put it in like his top tier, but like Scorsese's middle tier is better than almost everybody's best movie. So that's not really saying much. But like what really struck me about this movie is that it's not like physically violent like a lot of Scorsese's others movies, but the emotional violence in this movie is just as freaking savage as any other like Scorsese mob movie. Like, and I was just really struck by that he was able to sort of channel that energy that he's had in his like other movies where there's more physical violence into the emotional violence of the interpersonal relationships of this movie, particularly against poor Winona Ryder's character. She's just like, man, she just like, she doesn't necessarily do. Yeah, but and then like, but she's, and Michelle Pfeiffer is fantastic. Like I love Michelle Pfeiffer. Period. She's just great in like everything, and she's great in this. DDL just as usual, just bringing it at the highest level. Like he can do nothing else. He can't do anything but the highest level. I was really struck by this movie.
Scorsese has actually said that this is his most violent movie. He actually said that in an interview. Yeah.
That's an emotionally violent movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm now just trying to think of what Daniel Day-Lewis' worst film is.
Worst?
There will be blood.
Nine.
There will be blood.
Don't listen
Yeah,
to him. He doesn't like Spike Lee.
No, he doesn't like
That's
PTA
it.
either. There Will Be Blood, PTA's best movie. Yeah, okay. Moving on. Tony.
No, okay. Yeah, no, Tony, you want 2 cents to throw in there? Or?
I've not seen it for a while. But it's probably like the most forgotten about Scorsese New York film.
Right.
I'm still shocked that we haven't mentioned one yet.
Yeah.
No, really?
No,
Do we
right
go?
in the title.
I mean, like, it's not as like I think it's what you're thinking of. It's like it is in New York, but I don't really feel it as quintessential New York as some of his other ones.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
the one that starts with the letter G.
Yeah, that's where my head went.
Is the one that is over long?
Before we go there, we're gonna recap round 4 went down, and then you guys can complete your teams in just a moment. Tony, take it away.
All right. So for round 4, so Antonio went first. He went with Bronx Tale. Jake went second with Sweet Smell of Success. I went with Man on Wire, and then Kaiser went with The Age of Innocence.
Keep these up for just a second. Look at the difference. Like there's. I love it. No team is anywhere even like remotely within the same realm as one another, and they're all strong squads.
Only one superhero movie too.
No.
Well, that could change in round number 5, which is our final round, which is where you pick the one that's closest to your heart, the sleeper pick that no one else was even thinking of, or the one that just has been blatantly just overlooked thus far, and you can't believe it's still on the board. Whatever your heart desires, pick that shit right now. Kaiser, you are up first to complete your team. How are you rounding out your team with your 5th overall pick?
Okay, so I'm gonna pick the one movie that I think a lot of people wouldn't expect that I'll pick because they think that my taste is pretentious, and whatnot. But
Jake will love it, whatever it is.
yeah,
Sorry, that's funny.
Wow.
yeah. But I'm actually picking the
Yikes,
cultiest
Garth.
movie, the cultiest movie I've ever seen in 1979's The Warriors. This movie
Oh
is
shit!
fantastic. Holy shit!
Haha, this guy.
Yeah. So yeah, this movie takes place at along like just like and 8 hours, and it just like chronicles one gang being falsely accused of murder and just like trying to just make it back to their home territory. And holy shit, even though like none of the actors are like famous or like anything, or like there's like no particular scenes, but it's just a blast just watching them like beat the shit out of the other gangs, and just like and their hijinks like as they try and make it back to Coney Island. Like it's a movie that you can just put it on, you can watch it for 2 hours and you just go by. It's so much fun and it's a good relaxer. So The Warriors.
I can dig it.
Good.
Yeah.
I know this movie has been picked before because I've told the story before. I have never seen The Warriors, but my brother's old fantasy football league, whenever you won the season prior, you get to set like a stipulation to where everyone's teams need to be named after something, and someone won and they said that okay, everyone has to name their teams after one of the gangs in the movie The Warriors.
Nice.
So I
Warriors.
still haven't seen it, but I went with the Saracens because I liked Friday Night Lights at the time, and
Hell
Matt
yeah.
Saracen was the quarterback, and I'm like, that's
7. Let's go.
yeah. But that's about all I know about the Warriors. So again, leaving it to the panel to discuss.
This movie's fantastic. Like this is, yeah. I thought about this maybe, but yeah. This movie is just a total gas. Like it's simultaneously like a really like authentic portrayal of New York and also this absolutely absurd fantasy of New York at the same time, with all these really colorful gangs, just the sheer creativity that went into creating all of these different really unique looking gangs, really really great creativity from Walter Hill, and just the hook is so perfect. We have to get back to Coney Island in 8 hours or we're gonna die. Like the stakes in this movie is just like so perfectly set at the beginning of the movie after the whole giant gang meeting in Central Park and their various misadventures along the way. James Remar is pretty famous. He's one of the members of the Warriors. But yeah, this movie is just so much fun, and I am so glad that the proposed remake directed by Tony Scott never came to fruition. I mean, kind of tragic reasons why, but this movie is just such a great time capsule of late 70s New York, and I wouldn't want it to be ruined by anything because it's great the way it is.
So is this more like a Mad World / Rat Race kind of thing, or is it more like a Cannonball Run kind of thing? Nothing?
No.
No.
No, so basic premise is that New York is pretty much taken over by gangs. Like gang warfare is just the norm, like, and it's weird gangs. And the Warriors are in the Bronx, and they have to get to Coney Island because everyone's out to kill them. Because
No, I think they're in Central Park, is where the big meeting is with all the gangs. Where Cyrus tries to bring all the gangs together, and then. And then Pew, and then everybody thinks the Warriors did it, so they gotta.
Everybody knows I'm leaving tomorrow.
That's the beginning of the movie.
That's the start of the movie. Yeah.
It's the inciting incident. It's not.
I like this film, but when I watched it, I was just like, I was there just, I guess because like, watching that miniseries, just like this was fine as a movie. This would have been amazing as like a 4-part miniseries.
I think the compressed time frame really helps it, so I don't think it would work as a series.
I like the video game.
Yeah, there is a
video game.
I've never seen the movie, but I do. It is on my list, like definitely for sure. I don't know. I feel like that's one of the movies you have to be like in the mood to see. You know, other.
It's good anytime.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's like
it's just so much fun, and the Sully from Commando is just.
Oh shit! Really? Okay.
Yeah, he's the main bad guy.
You might have sold me. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Just the weirdness of some of the gangs as well, just so amazing. The Baseball Furies is one of the most iconic things in movies, and it's just like, oh man, I love that film. I love the insanity of this film.
Yes.
It's very much like Mad Max-esque.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's a good comparison.
All right. So Kaiser closes out his squad with the Warriors. Tony, what are you closing out yours with?
All right, so there's quite a few on the list like that I could take about fantastic films in their own right, but they don't feel New York-ish enough for me. So I'm gonna go for one that I think that New York is the central character of the film. That it's everything, like you're watching it to see New York and the reaction to the city of New York against the thing that's happening, and just because the way that it's shot is so incredibly done, and you get to see some incredible scenes, and even though it made a ton of people sick at the time, but I think that Cloverfield is an absolute just a masterpiece of just technical and just making the city feel as more important than any of the characters and everything like that. It's like escaping the city, it against a monster and everything like that. It just, I love Cloverfield.
Is that JJ?
Yeah.
He produced it. Matt Reeves directed
Matt
it.
Reeves, right. Mr.
He's done much better work.
Yeah.
There's Cloverfield, and there's like 10 Cloverfield Lane, and then there's like 8mm. I always confuse them all.
Yeah, Planet of the
We suck.
Oh yeah, Planet of the Apes trilogy is better, but I still love Cloverfield.
Really, Kaiser? You hate that too? Oh my god.
The trilogy is god awful. Holy shit! I fell asleep in a theater every single time I watch those stupid movies.
Get some rest before you watch a movie. That's why you fell asleep.
He keeps odd hours. He's out here with us, and it's what, 7 a.m. where you're at right now?
Damn, right.
It's 7:30. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like the biggest person, like the biggest two names in that film is what, Lizzie Kaplan and T.J. Miller. So it's not really about the people.
T.J. Miller, yikes!
I know.
I used to love
Lizzie Kaplan, though, fantastic. Love Lizzie Kaplan.
I used to love TJ.
Always. This movie's fine. I guess it's not. I don't think it's one of the better found footage movies. And there's also one other giant qualifier. The vast majority of this movie not shot in New York, so automatically couldn't be considered for my list because I only considered movies that were actually shot in New York. But yeah, it was mostly just shot in LA or whatever. But like they made stuff look like New York.
You're kidding.
They do that a lot.
Oh my god.
It's all right.
And I guess for me with Cloverfield as well, I remember this was like one of the first times like the viral marketing and everything like that. Just like that hooked me in a lot. So I love that film because of just like all like being on the internet for hours, like looking at all the weird stuff, and going, "Oh, what does this mean?"
You should have taken that as a sign of things to come with the JJ Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And with that, we will move on to Jake for his fifth and final selection.
Okay, this is kind of I guess this would be considered kind of a wild card pick because I know this movie is kind of divisive, but this is my one modern pick that I am going to make. I talk sometimes about movies that were created in a lab for someone to love specifically. And this movie was created in a lab specifically for me to love because it has a lot of things that I love in movies. It has New York City. It has gambling. It has basketball. It has Judaism. It has crime. And some fantastic performances from Lakeith Stanfield, Julia Fox, Eric Bogosian, and especially the Adam Sandler. I am picking the 2019 masterpiece Uncut Gems as my final pick. I absolutely adore everything about this movie. I know that a lot of people can't really dig it because it just makes them too anxious, but I just live in that. I just live in that all day, every day. So to me, this movie just goes down like a glass of water.
Bath. Nice warm bath you just kind of soak yourself into.
That is me. This is how I win, by picking Uncut Gems. Precisely. This movie, I just love everything about this movie. I love the chaotic energy the Safdie brothers bring to it, which is very much New York. Like you just get like the seedy underbelly of New York, where this jeweler going around trying to hustle and just trying to make enough money so he can gamble away all of his money only to try and make more money, and it just keeps going. It's just a nonstop hustle. And it also just features my favorite basketball player as a kid, Kevin Garnett.
Kevin Garnett, you too? Oh shit, I love KG.
Yeah, growing up in
as a kid.
because I grew up in Minnesota. That's why.
No, I'm just saying age range wise.
Oh, okay.
I love him.
Fair
I was
enough.
a Celtic as a Timberwolves.
Yeah,
Kevin Garnett's still a
but
child in my eyes.
whatever. He's like your age. It's fine. But anyway, so like having him, and he's like actually legitimately giving a really good performance. And I love how it incorporates actual NBA, like the actual like NBA schedule. Like it incorporates real games that actually happened. And like that is just, as a huge NBA fan, that was just freaking catnip for me. And the whole like, especially, I mean, there are just so many great scenes, but like the final 15 minutes is just absolutely mind-bogglingly incredible. And it just like, I can just watch this movie over and over again, and I will be. And this is the best Passover movie of all time. I will say that as well.
Still haven't seen it.
So yeah, this movie had two factors that made me like not want to see it. It had Adam Sandler and Lakeith Stanfield, two actors who are not good, so therefore I haven't seen
Lakeith Stanfield is God.
Yeah.
Silence yourself. Adam Sandler, this is good Sandler. Like the Sandler you're thinking of, this is not that at all.
This is not that. No.
It's not Jack and Jill Sandler.
It is
Hell
not.
no.
It's
not
I
at
hope
all.
not.
Jack
God, I
is
hope
actually
not.
better Sandler than most
Moonstruck
Sandler.
love Sandler.
I think.
Yeah, this is, well, yeah, I guess I kind of punched on.
Yeah,
He's
Brain-
way
Brain
more
of
insane
Me.
than this.
Sandler.
Yeah.
That's just me.
I-
Hello.
I had a different Indina Menzel movie on my list that I nearly drafted.
Oh, I know what you didn't choose.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh,
Why?
he's done. He can't choose no more.
Because that one's amazing.
It's not a good adaptation.
I think it is, but that's just me.
Which one are you thinking of?
Rent.
Right?
No?
Oh, I know what you're thinking of. Okay.
Enchanted.
Yeah, Enchanted.
That's the one.
Oh,
Which is also fantastic, by the way.
That one I was fighting with for my last bit. But Uncut Gems is one of those films that I need to sit back and rewatch one more time just to get full, because
in the dark.
Yeah, I just need to feel the tenseness of it again just to really understand it, because I remember just watching it just like, I've got a headache. This movie, why is Adam Sandler like, because one of my favorite films of all time is Punch Drunk Love, so I went in expecting like that, and it's just like, this is tense. I don't like this type of Sandler. So
Yes, that's
Yeah.
fair. All right, so
But, well, just quickly, let me do some shameless whoring beforehand. So, Digestion Cinema with Aaron and Christina have done an episode on Uncut Gems for A24, which a few weeks ago. They
It was a great epised, and thank God Christina liked this movie. It would have broken my heart if she didn't. So now I can actually look her in the eye when I see her tomorrow.
But
'Cause
also,
she actually likes it.
just quick to say as well, they did a movie set in New York this week as well, because somehow that list ended up. I don't know how I did that with that list, but oh well. But so this week they did the movie Moonstruck, starring Cher and Nicolas Cage, 1987. Really fantastic listen. If you haven't listened to it, was out early today, so go ahead and listen to it if you can.
we just lost Jake somehow.
Jake is going to go listen to it.
I think you gotta pick him up.
I think he saw me give the thumbs down to Moonstruck, and he just took himself out of the feed.
Yeah.
He's like, "Fuck you, Peggy," but apparently not. But hey, we gotta close out this draft real quick. Unless you still got other things that you want to plug. I'm sorry.
No,
Did I just
go
cut
ahead.
you off? All right, go. Antonio, it is down to you. What is the final pick of the draft? Make it a good one.
Yeah, I'm stuck between three.
You can name the other two in your honorable mentions.
No, I know. Yeah, I just been all right. So since I think Jake won this one already, I'm just gonna pick this one just because I think it needs more credit than I think it's given. And also, I mean, I'm resisting because I don't think I've chosen a Scorsese or Spike Lee movie, and I'm still gonna stay away from that because I don't want to be basic. So I'm gonna stick with my original feeling and keep it with Adam Sandler, and Tony actually mentioned it, Reign Over Me.
Hey, I know that one.
Interesting.
Hey, what I've seen. Woohoo!
Yeah. He actually filmed this right in front of my house, my apartment, with John Cheadle at Webster Hall, because I lived across from Webster Hall. I don't know if you guys remember that scene. But
I just know Webster Hall.
Oh, okay. Someone said that Uncut Gems was Adam's best performance. My opinion, I think this is. Just because, then again, he did this before Uncut Gems, where it was the best dramatic one. It's just my opinion. I every time I watch it, it still actually brings me to tears because, you know, I mean, it's related to 9/11. You know, he lost his family. Him and Cheadle, I think, have great chemistry. Even him just going on his motorized scooter all over New York, especially my neighborhood, because it's like Lower East Side and even just, you know, throughout Times Square, just Manhattan, just New York. And also just the fact that they included Shadow the Colossus as part of like what is like is almost like his own private therapy sessions, because he just plays a video game all day, and that's the one video game he chooses to play, which is one of my favorite video games of all time. But yeah, I just think this is his, if you want to call it, tied for first, fine. It's finest dramatic performance to me, because he's just playing a man who's still grieving and just needs therapy to get over the loss of his family in a plane crash in 9/11. You know, that's the guy. How can you get any more New York than that? So that's why I thought just the portrayal of New York, and just Adam and Cheeto together, Liv Tyler. I'm sure I'm missing people, but just the fact that I was actually there when they filmed it, also just to a personal level, just means a lot to me. So even though I could have chosen some other, you know, Spike movie or Scorsese movie, I just chose this one. I told myself I was gonna not leave this off, so this is definitely my last pick for my.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. If a movie hits you on a personal matter for sentimental reasons, or it shot near you, or you saw like you were driving past and you saw them shooting somewhere else. I mean, just that little personal interaction always kind of endears you to that movie just a little bit more. So I got nothing wrong. I got nothing bad to say about that. And I'm on board with pretty much anything Don Cheadle does. And it's been a while since I watched this movie, but I do remember enjoying it very much.
Yes.
Yeah, this is probably the best movie based around anything to do with 9/11, I believe. It's just
it's better than Extremely Loud, Incredibly Close, better than World Trade Center. Yeah, 93. Yeah.
Remember Me.
Remember Me.
Oh God.
Oh jeez.
Like it actually finishes on that, but I'm just like,
what are you doing?
Or the Michael Keaton film that came out earlier this year, Worth.
I haven't seen that one yet.
Shit. When you have Paul Giamatti and you waste Paul Giamatti, no, not Paul Giamatti, Stanley Tucci.
Oh,
it's very late in the day for me. Okay.
Yeah.
But no, yes, it was very much like I was watching it going, why are we not getting more Michael Keaton and Stanley Tucci in the same room together? No.
I'd love that.
There was like one scene which was great, and the rest of it was just like, just put them back together. Yeah. But anyway, back to Reign Over Me.
I was gonna say back to the movie.
I haven't seen this one.
I took a risk. I was like, maybe most people haven't seen this one. They've seen Uncut Gems, but I'm like, this is actually Adam before he was actually doing a good dramatic job. You know, 2007, I think. So
yeah, it's Adam Sandler, so I haven't seen
it. That's all right. But I think it was a strong way to close out your squad, Antonio. So I'm on board.
It's directed by Mike Binder as well. I think that is one of Peggy's favorite films. So
I was standing next to him.
Is that Beavis and Butt? No, that's Mike Judge.
No, that's Mike Judge. No, he did Indian Summer.
Okay, now I'm on board. I love Indian Summer. Everyone knows that.
I was watching the scene they were filming, and I think he was standing next to me the whole time. I didn't realize it because I don't know what he looks like. I was like, Mike Binder.
I've been there before, sir.
Did you try and kick him out from his own set?
Shut up!
Well, the thing is, my dad's the super of the 5 buildings. Apparently, my dad could have kicked him out.
Didn't do it. I was. Anyways, stop giving me grief for me and my Steve McQueen interactions. All right, draft over. We've reached the end. Everyone in the chat, what did we miss? What are your favorite movies set in New York City? Start writing them down, throwing them out as Tony recaps how everyone's teams ended up breaking down.
All right, absolutely. So Kaiser went first this week, and he went Spider-Man 2, The Wolf of Wall Street, Breakfast at Tiffany's, The Age of Innocence, and The Warriors. I went second with Do the Right Thing, Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3, Coming to America, Man on Wire, and Cloverfield. Jake went third. And won. He won Taxi Driver, 12 Angry Men, The Apartment, Sweet Smell of Success, and Uncut Gems. Then Antonio at the end, Ghostbusters, Working Girls, Die Hard with Vengeance, A Bronx Tale, and Reign Over Me.
Yes, knowing the voting community that participates in these polls, I'm pretty sure Jake is running away with this one. But you want to know what? There are a bunch of movies that we left on the board that are fantastic New York movies.
Yeah.
So we're going to go around the horn, have everyone give a few of their honorable mentions, something that just missed out on being on their draft board, and anything they want to plug or promote. And I think we'll start with Kaiser and then work our way around. Kaiser, what are a few that just missed out on being named for your team?
So yeah, there's three I would have named. Some of them would be controversial, but okay, I'll start with the best one, West Side Story. Like I was debating between West Side Story or A Breakfast at Tiffany's, but I just like Breakfast at Tiffany's a little bit more, even though West Side Story is incredible. Like, don't get me wrong. Then the next one, the next two are personal favorites. The first one is The Day After Tomorrow. Like, people don't really like this movie, but
I like the movie.
I love it.
I think it's a really I think it's a fun disaster movie. I actually think it's like probably Roland Emmerich's like best movie like by far. And yeah, so
it freaks me out that it might happen. Honestly.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Oh God. Yeah. Then the last one. Okay, this one is a big one. I rewatched it recently and I actually liked it a lot more than when I saw it the first time. It's a geek movie. It's Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I love this movie now, and I think it's actually a really fun movie. Oh wait, shit! It doesn't take place in New York. Fuck, never mind. Scratch that.
Yeah, it does.
I can't be blown out of my house because my wall is here, but Jesus Christ.
I think Crimes of Grindelwald's in New York, isn't it?
I thought it was the first one.
The first one. The second one is in Paris. So yeah, I just
the first Fantastic Beasts would make more sense.
I've not.
Even still, like
that's the only reason it was good. It was in New York.
Even still, Jesus.
And then Kaiser, is there any like matches you want to point people towards? Anything you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
Coming up, no. Not really, because I'm having midterms right now, so don't really have time for much of these other other stuff. So yeah, I'm good.
Right.
Pass to the next person, please.
No, that's fair enough. All right, Antonio, if you have your honorable mentions, anything you want to plug, go ahead.
Okay, so this is where I was stuck for the last one. I was stuck between. Because I feel like I had to get a Spike or Scorsese movie in there. So the Spike Lee movie I was thinking of was 25th Hour.
Yeah.
I think they show New York City a lot throughout those scenes, and I think it's actually my favorite Spike movie before Inside Man. But I'm not saying do the right things up there too. I'm just saying. But and then I Am Legend, because they actually did film that.
Thank you.
In New York. I was debating that for the try, but I don't know. What else? And then Escape from New York. Although I kind of didn't give it too much.
Was not shot in New York, so
right, yeah. And I was like, it's in New York when it's like fucked up, so it's not really set in the city. So I was like, okay. And You've Got Mail, just because that's actually one of my favorite. I think it's my favorite Nora Ephron movie. And I think that was pretty much it. And then obviously I would have taken Taxi Driver, but otherwise, I think that's pretty much where I left it off.
And then anything you want to promote, point people towards? Any social media handles?
No, just keep an eye out for this weekend, the Schmodown event in New York, and then just keep an eye out for me in the fan leagues wherever you see me. But yeah, looking forward to the weekend for sure.
Okay. That said, I record straight. Inside Man is Spike Lee's worst movie, not his best.
Not even close. Not even close. Not even close. This is just absolute nonsense. I had to deal with this earlier this week, and I just having to hear it again, it doesn't make it any less annoying.
All right, well then we shall move over to you, Jake. Jake, what are a few of your honorable mentions and anything you want to promote?
Okay, Antonio took my backup Spike pick. My backup Scorsese pick was one we alluded to earlier. Goodfellas or After Hours is also just even more quintessential New York to me, honestly. The Godfather Part 1, but like as great as it is, that's one that's like it could kind of take place in another city. even as incredible as the movie is, obviously. Network, one of my all-time favorite movies. One of my favorite movies of the last 5 years, If Beale Street Could Talk. Another really good one. And then a couple of honorable mentions that, again, it had to be shot in New York. Otherwise, I would have picked, these would have been highly considered by me. Rear Window, All About Eve, and of course, because it's me, American Psycho.
That's what I thought you were going to say. At the apartment.
You like Huey Lewis in the News?
I love Huey Lewis in the News. I don't love American Psycho.
Which song?
American Psycho is in my top 15 of all time. But anyway,
that I knew.
This movie is perfect. Anyway, and nothing really to plug. I'm gonna be in New York this weekend, like a lot of other people. So let's hang. I haven't really socialized much in the last year and a half, so kind of hoping to change that this weekend.
Get shit-faced.
So, that is absolutely happening. Perhaps more than once.
My vacation started at 2 p.m. today.
I mean, my vacation started Sunday, but who's counting? Anyway, excited for this weekend. That's really all I got. This was a blast. Thank you so much for having me on. This was one of my favorite topics. So
It was a fun one.
Thank you.
Not over just yet, because Tony still has to go. What are a few of yours?
Yep. So I'll give 3 that just like films that I just want to give a bit of love to. Life is Strange, which is the Alfred Molina and John Lithgow gay romance film. Is one of the most beautiful films you'll ever see. Those two are one of the best couples on cinema I've seen in a longest time. It's weird that I'm going to say a Bill Murray film, that he directed. But if you want a New York film, Quick Change is incredible for how it makes the city of New York as the villain. So
I didn't even think about Quick Change, but I'm so happy you mentioned it.
What's it called again?
Quick Change. So pretty much the idea is that Bill Murray, Randy Quaid, and Gene Davis, they do a bank heist in New York, and they're trying to escape New York City.
Yep.
With the money, and so just like the whole film is just like conspiring against them to.
Antonio, have you not seen it? Add it to your list. Add it to your list.
I'm adding it right now. Thank you for
that. Then two more. Margin Call is one of the best films you'll ever see. JT Chandor is incredible as director for it, and then then I have to mention Paris is Burning. If you've never seen it, then dear God.
Also very high on my list.
And then anything that was mentioned in the chat that's worth putting up?
Absolutely. Let's pull up a few. Okay, so big one of Miss King Kong.
Oh, which one?
Yeah, which one?
Not 2005.
I would hope. I would hope 1933. If we're going with a King Kong version.
For that, it just spent too much time outside of New York for me.
Yeah,
that's my fault. No one to take Wall Street.
My brother suggested that, but I was like,
it's fine.
It's okay.
It's like mostly like upstate New York or like whatever, fancy New York.
But first time favorite watch at 25 hours. Then
fantastic.
Rosemary Baby on the Waterfront, Spider-Man Moonstruck,
Tootsie.
Yeah, I had all of those on my list except for Once Upon a Time in America, which I haven't seen.
Midnight Cowboy, Big Serpico.
Big. I almost went with Big, but still.
And then Muppets Take Ben.
Mr. Deeds.
Hey, I like Trainwreck. I'm not on that, but I wouldn't put it in my top 5. I mean, not for this list, but I love it.
I've still not seen it.
Too soon.
Too soon. Thank you, Melissa. I'll cross that one off.
I love In the Heights, but it's too soon.
And here we go.
It's a love letter to New York, right?
Oh my God! Yeah.
That is a good one. I didn't realize that took place in New York.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Okay.
Look how many Woody Allen picks.
Because he's a fucking pedophile.
Yeah, and he's overrated as fuck. Annie Hall is shit.
I would have really lost.
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, it's.
You won't pick Manhattan.
Before Tony goes through what's coming up on the channel, When Harry Met Sally obviously would have been one of my picks because that's just it's me. Brooklyn. I don't know what that.
Not shot in New York. Otherwise, yeah.
Okay, well, it's supposed to be set there. Anyways,
was
The
my
Big Short
criteria.
it's
Big Short in
primarily
New York?
set. I
The
mean,
Big
they
Short.
bounce
Yeah,
around,
it's
but
Wall
it's
Street.
primarily in New York.
Yeah.
I love that movie. And
It
then
talks down too much.
the one on Netflix I talk about at nauseum. It's called Someone Great, for you gentlemen who are Lakeith Stanfield's on the panel. He is in
I mean,
it.
I
but it is
liked
a chick
it.
flick. It is a
Someone
good
Great.
movie, and it should have been released in theaters. It would be so much more popular had it been, but it wasn't. It's
Oh, that's in
okay.
New York. Okay.
That movie. I watched it on your recommendation. It just made me really
Yes.
depressed about New York. Honestly,
Okay, well, I guess that's not a really
Y'all
glowing
end up talking about
recommendation.
LA.
But
RuPaul,
I love the
RuPaul
movie.
has one of the best scenes in that film, hands down.
No,
that
God.
was a personal thing, though.
Also,
But
just
yeah,
quickly,
I
yeah.
almost picked Rumble in the Bronx, but I feel like it
Yeah,
was too-
Rumble in the Bronx. Yeah, it's been
there's
so long
so
since I've
many
seen
that we
it.
weren't able to name. But I mean, we're gonna like. There's a bunch of people who are just gonna list them out on the poll. But
yeah.
Tony, what's coming up on the channel? What do we have What do we have to look forward to on Featured Presentation Productions?
So we mentioned what's it called? No, we mentioned Digest Cinema, and I should hope. I've said this for last month, but it should be out. FPMT hopefully will be back next week if I don't end up in a pit of despair. I'm off next weekend, so I should have actual time to make it. And then Mobile Trust Maelstrom at the end of the month for Halloween, month after rom-coms, and month after that. I've not to be decided, but yeah,
Probably
that's
Christmas
been
movies,
fun.
something like that. Holiday
Yeah,
movies. Something. But then and then tune in next Wednesday, where we will all probably regale you with Tales of Brooklyn, and we will be drafting. Oh, well, not drafting, but we will be casting the next Bond film. So you can cast yourself your new James Bond. You can cast yourself a Bond
Tom
lady
Hardy.
or Bond boy, whatever you want to call
Dev
it.
Patel,
Your villain,
let's go.
your director. I don't know. We'll figure it out by the time we get there. But for myself, for Tony, for Kaiser, Antonio, and Jake, hopefully see you in Brooklyn on Saturday. But if not, we'll see you next Wednesday.
I'll
Have
be
a good one,
seeing you.
guys.
We'll see you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, and please don't forget to vote.
That was
Awesome.
I thought it reeked.
Who's winning? Let's see who wins.
You're gonna win.
nothing personal. It's really gonna matter.
Tune in next week.
You see what happens?
Brand new.
Episode?
A fantasy film fight.
Doesn't matter who wins, because they're all losers.